I'm Garrett Eldridge, and I did this project. So my project was about like what type of beakers or containers would warm water up faster. So like the containers like that you would find around your household, just using the containers you have there and seeing if it would warm the water up faster, just to see. And I did a metal beaker and a glass beaker, and the metal warmed up faster and conducted the heat longer. And then I wrapped both of them in aluminum foil, and the metal still held the heat longer, but it also took a longer time to warm up. So it was just kind of a quick experiment I just wanted to try out, just to see what was easier to do, I guess.
My name's Dakota Santor. I'm in 9th grade, and what I did was took 2 beakers to see which would cool down faster, soapy water or normal water. And to do that, I took a beaker of 100 milliliters of water, put that on a hot plate, waited for it to heat up. Then I took them, put them in the beakers, and then I recorded my data down.
I'm Haley White. I'm in grade 9, and the title of my poster is "How Does Various Amounts of Baking Powder Affect the Rise of a Cake?" I did an experiment where I took 4 different cakes with the same recipe, and I added different amounts of baking powder to see if it would vary the inches of the cake, and it did.
So my name is Nevaeh, and I'm in 10th grade, and I did a project on expensive versus cheap shampoos. So what I did was I tested like salon shampoos versus drugstore shampoos, and I compared the chemicals that are in them. So some of the chemicals in a drugstore shampoo, for example, herbal essences, is ammonium lauryl sulfate, ammonium laureth sulfate, sodium chloride, cocamide mie, ammonium xylene nesylfolate. I can't say them very well, but the chemicals are a lot different in all of them, which can affect how they affect the hair. So I washed the hair with the different shampoos, and then I examined them under a microscope, and then over a number of days I recorded the results.
My name is Brooke Durkee, and my project was on what liquids have a higher or lower viscosity. And I took 4 different liquids, and I did 3 different trials for each of them, so I could find the average and compare them. So I had 50 milliliters, and I had a marble, and so I dropped the marble into the graduated cylinder, and I did that 3 times for each of the trials, and then I added those together and then divided by 3 to get the average. And I found that the Elmer's glue had the highest viscosity, and the orange juice had the lowest viscosity.
I'm in 7th grade, and my name is Caitlin Shepard, and my project is about dissolving Jolly Ranchers in different liquids and see which one it's fastest in. And it was fastest in the vinegar.
Hi, my name is Mercedes Slack, and I'm in 11th grade. My project, I made a solution with a certain type of plant hormone and mixed it with animal fat and melted it down to see if I could speed up the process of leaf dropping.
I'm Ariana Bordeaux, and I'm in 9th grade. I did my project on whether Advil or Tylenol dissolves faster. I put Tylenol in one beaker and Advil in another with hydrochloric acid and see how long it took to dissolve.
Hi, my name is Emily King, and my project was finding substances that would effectively bind to phosphorus during filtration. I tested 4 different substances: calcium carbonate, calcium acetate, magnesium hydroxide, and lanthanum carbonate. I put them on top of this wooden structure and I filtered water down through and took before and after phosphorus tests. My results were that lanthanum carbonate filtered out the most phosphorus, and upon further research, I discovered that this was because lanthanum carbonate has plentiful positive charges and phosphorus is negatively charged, so phosphorus binds to lanthanum cardonate most efficiently.
Shawn Patterson, I'm in 7th grade, and my project is about how video games affect your heart rate. So what we did was we played a video game for 10 minutes and then see how our heart rate changed from when we did it after our control, which was our heart rate normally, like every day, which was, for both of us, was 99 heartbeat per minute, I believe it was. We found out that some games, like 2-player games, decreased our heart rate a decent much, and also like some progressive games, like some progressive games, and decreased it too.
Hi, I'm Brooke Barnett. I did my project on feeding my chickens different foods. I would feed them, I separated them into 4 different groups, and I fed them a different food in each group. I found that for my project, they weighed the most for the black Austrian chickens, they weighed the most when I gave them pellets and vegetables. For my brown chickens, we did not know what they were because we got shipped them. We're guessing that they were Red Island Reds, and they weighed the most when I fed them pellets and mealworms. For my hypothesis, I thought that they would grow the most with the vegetables and mealworms because the vegetables has the fibers they need and the mealworms had the protein.
I'm Annie Plouffe. I'm in 10th grade. I studied the effect of gravitropism and phototropism on plants, which is basically the effect of gravity and light on how plants grow. I discovered that my plants, they did grow towards the light, as you can see in this one right here. It was planted upside down and it grew sideways towards the light.
Hi, my name is Kaya, and I'm a 9th grader. My project is about the golden rectangle, which is a mathematical shape that's created by splitting a rectangle by the proportions of 1 to 1.618, which is also known as phi. I knew that it has been seen in the Mona Lisa and the Parthenon, but I wanted to see how often it appeared in classic art and other real things like people. I found that it occurs in realism paintings and certain landscape paintings, but it depends on the point of focus.
My name is Jason and I'm in 9th grade, and pretty much what I did was hearing loss for see how loud you can have your earbuds in when you have them in your ear, and pretty much how I figured it out is when you have them all the way up, it goes up to 95 decibels, and pretty much an average ear can only take about 85 decibels, so pretty much when it goes up and it hits about 95, it takes about 4 hours for it to permanently damage your ear. And so I pretty much just grabbed my phone and kind of see how loud I can put my phone up to. And high I got it up to about 95. Middle, I pretty much got it down to 67. And the lowest I pretty much got it down to was 54. So that's pretty much how I researched it, and yeah.
My name is Leviathan Lamoth, and I wanted to find out why humans fear animals and what that fear stems from. And I'm joined here today with Oliver, my rat, and even just people's reactions of him are very different, much like the data that I got. And this was all just a really nice learning experience to kind of know more about the psychology of fear and, culture and how fears are developed.
Hi, my name is Grace Kinney, and my project was the preservation of beet cells in different salt solutions. And do I just explain it? Okay. So what I hypothesized is that the 20% salt solution would preserve the cells the most in a freezing environment, and it resulted that my hypothesis was correct. The 20% salt solution allowed the beet cells to undergo a hypertonic salt solution, meaning that it diffused water outside of the cell membrane and it diffused salt into the cell membrane. That way, when the beet cells froze, it allowed the water in the cells to expand, but not so much that the cell membrane burst.
My project here is on the increase in blood pressure after the consumption of red meat. Basically, what I would do is I would take my average blood pressure over the course of a week, normally without consuming red meat. I would compare that to my average blood pressure during a week after the consumption of red meat, and I wanted to see if there was an increase or not. My conclusion led to an increase in my blood pressure after I would compare the two averages. So in the end, it was a successful experiment, but there are some problems that I'd like to address. I wasn't able to test it on multiple people and only just myself. So in the end, I wish I would have had more test subjects. I wish I could have introduced more variables like weight and gender, but I was not able to do that. So,
Harrison, and I'm in 11th grade. My project is seeing if garlic can keep water clean. So basically what I had done was I crushed up garlic and added 50 milliliters of water to it to create a garlic solution. And you know how cheese and wine ages? Well, as it aged, it became more potent, so I let it sit for a while. And then I put E. coli into agar dishes to grow, and I put the garlic in, and after a couple weeks I checked the thing, and so basically I put it into a spectrometer to see how much bacteria was still in it. And this was basically water, or just water, and it had about 97% bacteria, so it looked like milk basically. It had a lot of E. coli in it, and I wouldn't recommend drinking it. This one had, for some reason it must have been malfunction, but it messed up a little bit, so that had a little higher. This one was about 2 milliliters of garlic, and it had 34% bacteria, so it still killed it, just not as much. So basically the one that had all garlic just killed E. coli completely. So garlic can be used to kill bacteria.
My name's Jordan Bordeaux and I'm a sophomore. So my project's on how online tools affect a student in keeping track of their workload. So what I did was I made a website where you can have someone that submits their assignment and they will fill out like a quick survey about it. So they have their name, the assignment name, the class name, due date, and a picture of it. So they could attach like a blank homework sheet just to remind themselves to do it and they know when it's due. They could attach a sheet of notes just to keep track of that, or they could attach something like a finish sheet just to prove that they did it. And then they'd be able to go over to the submissions page of the website and view it here, where then you can see all the different things that they filled out in the first part. So you can tell, all right, this is the class I'm looking for, this is the assignment name, that's what it looked like, and that's when it was due. And what I found was that out of the people that handed the sheet I gave to them to review it back, people rated it differently based on the kind of student they were. So one person found that it was really helpful that it was easy to access, just because then if they needed to, they could quickly find something or quickly put something into the system. And then someone who might not be as organized, they thought it was really helpful to have an actual copy of something that they can look back on just to keep themselves organized.
I'm Owen Charleston. I'm in 11th grade, and this is different shapes and how they affect bridge strength. So I found that triangular designs worked better in how much weight a bridge could hold. This was a square design, and it actually collapsed a lot easier. Triangle designs held 65% more weight than square designs.
My name is Kaley Ward, and I'm in 8th grade. And I did a project on how music affects your decision making. So for research, I researched 21 people in 3 different groups, and each group had a different type of music, and they my hypothesis was that the first group, which was like a more sad music, was going to have a calmer, more not risky answer. Well, the second group, which was more of a neutral answer, which was more of a neutral music, would have a more neutral answer. And the more upbeat music was going to have a more risky answer. My research did back up my hypothesis, except for when it got to the more upbeat music. It confused me when it was more of a mixture of neutral, risky, and not risky.
My name's Tamika Stetson. I'm 9th grade, and my project is about, does age affect memory? My hypothesis was that younger kids have a better memory. But I tested 3 people. My youngest and my oldest came up with the same answers. So my hypothesis was wrong. So then I did a little digging, and I realized that age doesn't affect memory. And that's my project. Thank you.
My name is Bella Thayer, and I'm a sophomore at MVU. My project is on how the people you're around impact your mood. My hypothesis was that when you're around someone you're closer to, your mood would increase. When alone, your mood would decrease, and when with someone you're unfamiliar with, your mood would remain relatively the same. Throughout my experiment, I found that my hypothesis was not correct. I had 3 test subjects, and I put them in a room alone with someone they were unfamiliar with and with a person they were close to, and I rated their mood on a profile of mood states, which you can see in the table. This is a test used widely by psychologists to rate a person's mood. And so the results give you total mood disturbance and then other emotions, but I focused on total mood disturbance because I was focused on mood overall rather than individual emotions. And a higher mood disturbance indicates a worse mood. So my results found that when with someone you're close to, your mood improves the most. When alone, your mood increased slightly, and when with someone they were unfamiliar with, their mood increased a little bit, but not too much. So overall, when you're with someone you're closer to, your mood increased the most.
My name is Laura Perleclaire, and I am in 10th grade, and my project is, does age determine how long it takes to read a jumbled paragraph? My hypothesis is that it will take people older in age longer to read the jumbled paragraph. And what I did is I wrote 2 sentences out, and the first one was with words that were like 3 or 4 letters, so that it was easier to read. And the longer words had letters that were closer together, jumbled up, so it was also easier to read. And the second paragraph was harder because it used larger words and the letters that were jumbled were farther apart. So then I had 5 people that were younger than 20 test it, and then 5 people that were older than 40 test it, and I had them read it aloud to me, and I wrote down the time, I averaged it out, and then I averaged the 2 averages and found that people older than 40 took them on average 7 seconds longer to read the jumbled paragraph, which supported my hypothesis.
My name's Emily Graham, and my project was who can tell the difference between real maple syrup better, Vermonters or non-Vermonters. So when I did my project, my hypothesis was that if somebody born and raised in Vermont would be able to tell the difference better than somebody who wasn't born in Vermont. And my results came out to be that 60% of my participants from Vermont could and 40% couldn't. And it ended up being the same for both, which surprised me because I thought that someone in Vermont would be able to tell the difference better.
My name's Lanie. I'm a sophomore, and I wanted to test what different types of music would have, like the effects that they would have on test taking. So I had people each do their math times tables for a minute without music, then with classical music, then with pop music, and then with rock music. And I averaged up the results and found that the rock music, which I thought would have the lowest scores, actually had the highest scores. So my hypothesis was completely wrong, and everything was the opposite of what I thought it would be. Yeah.
My name is Hazel Uno, and I'm in grade 9 with my teacher, Miss Hanson.
And my project I researched was how color affects memory. And to summarize it at least, basically, if you're studying for a test, you want to study in written form at least, blue for short term and black for long term. So I recommend if you have a test in like 5 minutes, study in blue. At least this is based on my average data. And if you have a test in like a week, study in black, because based on my data, this helped people recall the most information. And I found this interesting because I have a terrible memory, but I'm pretty good at remembering things for tests, but I just wanted to know how I could improve it, and this was a good way to do that. And to branch off of my topic, basically, you could research how color affects people with Alzheimer's, maybe, because that would be interesting to see, like, how that would affect someone's memory, or even how color affects someone who's colorblind, because not all people, like, they're not fully colorblind. They just have like some colors they can't fully see the best. So, like, I just think to see how their brain interprets colors would be a cool thing. And the reason how like color really affects memory is because with color, your brain basically associates it with an emotion, and on average, at least, it helps short term the most, which is why in this case blue. Most people like associate blue with like calmness or something good, and that's why blue helped people remember the most short term, and basically just your brain just helps recall the most information with different colors because it assorts it with an emotion, and that can vary. I tested only 3 colors, but in the future I'd like to test more colors, more participants, and possibly even like test over a longer period of time.
I'm Kendall. Do I say my last name? Okay. I'm Kendall LeDoux, and my project is on if the faster a person reads a story, if that affects a character they would choose from the story. For example, I chose a story about Winnie the Pooh that represented all or most characters equally, and I had 7 people read the story, and I timed them. And then I had them pick their favorite character. And based on that information, I tried to see if the faster someone read a story, the more familiar of a character they would choose, as in Piglet or Pooh, which are the main characters. And the people who took longer to read chose Eeyore, which is displayed in this graph here.
Right, my name's Gabe. My science experiment was on the survey of 2 alternate cryptocurrencies' dynamic electrical usage as correlated to monetary accumulation, which is an overcomplicated way of saying what's the difference between a cryptocurrency's electrical usage and how much money you get back from it, because, you know, that is the reason for staking or mining a cryptocurrency at all, is how much money you make. So pretty much what I was trying to answer is what cryptocurrency will consume a lesser amount of electricity compared to how much you get out. And so I mined a cryptocurrency called Monero, and that produced about half a kilowatt hour of electricity overall. And then I staked a cryptocurrency called Redcoin, which gave me 0 kilowatt hours overall. And Redcoin only gave me about 4 cents worth. I staked about $80, $79.22, or 66,856 Redcoin. And then I mined Monero on my computer. And I got 4 cents worth of Redcoin and 6 cents worth of Monero. And so, even though Monero, a proof of work cryptocurrency, gave me more money, proof of stake did it with just slightly less but used less electricity, which is overall better for the environment as a whole. And that was one of the reasons, is to highlight the issues with proof of work and why proof of stake will become superior in the future.
Oh, my name's Shawn Power, and I did my experiment on the effects distributed, like the effects of variables distributed into a basketball shot. And so I tested on inflation material of the ball and the material of the ball. And and my hypothesis was that the inflation of the ball would do the most damage to your shot and decrease the shooting percentage the most. And for results, I got that inflation did affect my shot the most. And for Mr. Reed, which was my gym teacher, had the no net present do most damage to his shot. He only got 62, I got only 56. And so I came to the conclusion that all shooters are different comfortability-wise, and that different variables can affect different players, you know, because everyone's different and unique in their own way.